Well, hi everybody. Welcome to another of our daily devotions. We're back in Psalm 4, and today we're going to be thinking about verses 2 and 3. Let me read those verses to you. David is speaking and he says, O men, how long shall my honour be turned into shame? How long will you love vain words and seek after lies? But know that the Lord has set apart the godly for himself. The Lord hears when I call to him. Now, the main subject of these verses is the fact that David's enemies are speaking lies against him. They're not only out to try and physically capture him and kill him, they want to engage in character assassination. As David puts it, turning his honour into shame, using vain words and lies against him. There's no doubt that this was a great emotional stress to David. People saying all sorts of things about him that just weren't true, with a view to getting his reputation destroyed and others thinking badly of him. Some of the things they said about him may have been true, but said in such a way as to call David's character into question. Other things they said may have been partly true, but in only speaking part of the truth, they were not giving the whole picture of what was going on, and again, painting David in a bad light. And of course, other things that they were saying about David were completely untrue. They were just lies. And David was destroyed by this. So these men, these people are out to destroy David's reputation at any cost. As a minister, I think this is one of the most heinous sins that a person can commit against another individual. And the sad thing is that in my 30 odd years of ministry, that I have seen this taking place in the Christian church. It is a sin that is committed by professing Christians. Somebody has a grudge against a fellow believer, a grudge against maybe an elder or a grudge against their minister, and they say something to someone else in a tone of voice that leaves the person to whom they're speaking, uh, or the person about whom they are speaking, as if they have done something wrong, or they only tell part of the story, and it is that part of the story that paints the person about whom they're speaking in a bad light, or they tell something about the person that is completely untrue. It is just lies, all with a view to destroying the reputation of that person in the eyes of others. They want to bring them down. They want to ruin their reputation. It's a bit like what Ziba did to Mephibosheth whenever David had to go on the run from Jerusalem. And if you don't know that story, you'll find it in 2 Kings chapter 16. Of course, it's what Jesus' enemies did to him. They slandered him. He was called a wine bibber. He was called somebody who eats with sinners. So it's something that happens to people who are godly. If it happened to Jesus, it can happen to us. But notice what David says in verse 3. David knows that he's under the protection of God. He says in verse 3, but know that the Lord has set apart the godly for himself. The word godly there can be translated the one who is loved or the beloved one. And it says God has set him apart. The verb that's used there, set apart, is a verb that was used of the Israelites whenever God sent the plagues into Egypt. God's people were set apart in the sense that that which came down upon Egypt as a judgment of God did not come down upon Israel. God had set them apart and protected them. The idea is God knows what David is going through, but God also knows what David is like, despite the way in which his enemies are portraying him. And God will protect David from such slander. This deliberately slandering a person who is godly, it will not ultimately succeed. Dale Ralph Davis has a lovely comment in his little commentary on these early Psalms. He says, "The weapon against slander is to remember how God regards you, to hold on to what He has said about you." So even when other people are trying to destroy your character, it's tremendously comforting to know God knows the truth about you. And at the end of the day, brethren, isn't that all that really matters? In God's eyes, we are precious, specially chosen, beloved children. Can I say to you, brethren, don't let the devil draw you into the ranks of those who slander other people. And if you yourself are the object of slander, if someone is slandering you, don't despair. Remember how God views you, regardless of how others may do so. Have a good day. Every blessing.